Throwaway because some of my friends follow my main account and are also listeners of THT. Ellen, 22F, and I, 21F, met through an internship 3 years ago and instantly became best friends. About a year ago, I started crushing on George, 24M, who interns at the same company, but in a different department, as us. Ellen and another one of our coworkers set us up last fall, and we really hit it off. We've fallen in love, and we often talk about a future together. This is where things get messy. From early in our relationship, pretty much as soon as we went from just dating to being official, Ellen has been colder to me. She's never made it a secret that she doesn't particularly like George, though she's never said anything direct about it. The only issue she ever raised was when we first got together and he got really sick. I was studying for the MCAT at the time, and I was only about a month out from my main test day when he had a pretty bad flare-up of a chronic illness. Because he knew that Ellen and I were so close, he called her to ask her if she thought he should tell me he was sick or if it would be better to keep it from me so he didn't take me away from my studies. Ellen didn't like this at all. She told me she thought it was incredibly inappropriate that he tried to contact her like that and he shouldn't have called her about something so personal. I thought her reaction was a little over the top, but I talked to George about it and he apologized to her and never called her again. But she didn't let it go. A few weeks later at a party, she made a comment about how I was always choosing George over my friends. My roommate was going to be out of town the next week, so she said she should say her goodbyes since I would probably just spend the whole week at home with George. She tried to play it off as a joke, but I was really surprised she felt that way. I never wanted to be the kind of girl who turns her back on her friends when she gets into a relationship, and I had been trying really hard to balance my time with my boyfriend and with my friends. But it seemed she felt neglected, so I started putting more effort into our friendship. Over the next few weeks, I tried to make plans with her at least 5 or 6 times. Every time, she came up with some excuse not to see me, even once canceling at the last minute and citing a meeting she forgot about at 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I was hurt. I knew our friendship was dying, and every time I tried to revive it, she rejected me. Finally, I decided the ball was in her court. If she wanted to be friends, I was open to it. But I was sick of being rejected, and she would have to be the one to reach out to me. She never did. Meanwhile, things were deteriorating at work. We had been assigned to the same project for the year, which required working very closely together. As our friendship fell apart, she started ignoring me at work, being rude and short, and making my share of our tasks very difficult for me. I felt like she was constantly breathing down my neck and waiting to catch me in a mistake. I figured she was gossiping about me behind my back, but at this point I was so exhausted from dealing with her that I couldn't be bothered about it. She would say whatever she wanted to say, and I would just be nice and patient with her and count down the days until our internship ended. Until today. I had lunch with one of our other coworkers and my good friend, K, 22M, and he told me everything. Apparently, Ellen has been telling all of our coworkers and friends that George has been trying to cheat on me with her, telling them that he calls her in the middle of the night, sends her inappropriate texts, and when I hosted a party after I wrote the MCAT, he spent the whole night eyeing her. I know that none of this is true. I love George and I know that he loves me, and even as Kay was telling me all of this I knew that Ellen was lying. It seemed that Kay didn't believe it either. He was just telling me what he had heard, but the thought that she's been going around accusing George of infidelity makes me sick. I went straight to George's house and told him everything. I told him I didn't think for even a second that it was true, and the real betrayal is how Ellen made all this up and spread it around. I was crushed to know that not only did Ellen say all of this, but she'd been saying it to all of my friends for months, and not one of them came to me about it. George helped me get past the hurt stage, and now all I feel is rage. Tomorrow I'm going to call my supervisor and ask if I can work from home until the end of my contract so that I never have to see Ellen's face again. I feel so betrayed and I just hate her so much right now. Am I overreacting? Should I be taking the high road and just keep working with Ellen as if I don't know? I feel betrayed by my other friends too, because Kay thinks they all knew what she was saying and not one of them told me. Should I cut them off the same way I planned to cut off Ellen? Relevant comments. Have you given any thought that what she was saying was true? What did boyfriend say about it all? Offered to show texts, etc.? Obviously playing devil's advocate here, and either way a real friend would tell you directly about your man acting out, not gossiping, so no judgment on dropping her ass. OOP. I really don't think it could be true. George has offered a number of times to let me go through his phone, which I declined because I really do trust him and we both agree that the accusations are absurd. He's never been anything but completely honest with me, and he's been saying for weeks that I should drop Ellen because he doesn't like the way she's been treating me. I don't want to contact her about it right now because honestly I'm just so angry, and like you said, if there was any truth to it and if she was ever my friend at all, she should have come to me about it directly. I also don't think Kay would lie about something like this. He's not the kind of person to make up rumors, and there's no way he would have known that George called Ellen if she hadn't told him, albeit a twisted version. Update July 8th, 2025, 1 year later. Update time. 1 year later. I can't believe that I'm still learning more about all the ways that Ellen tried to ruin my life. I'll start with the good news first. Our internship ended without much fanfare. I didn't, as many comments suggested, contact HR or confront Ellen. I did contact our direct supervisor and told him that our personal relationship had deteriorated and that it had caused some hostility on her part at work, giving specific examples of issues in the workplace without getting into the weeds of the personal pettiness that was going on. He was incredibly understanding and accommodating. I worked from home the rest of the summer, received a glowing recommendation from him, and got hired at our company in my top choice department fresh out of my internship while I finished my degree and applied for medical school. I've been accepted to the top school in my country, and George and I plan on getting married once I finish my studies. Our relationship is stronger than ever. Ellen moved abroad, but stayed very well connected to the friend group that we had formed through the internship. After what happened last year, I slowly began to distance myself from that group, and as I did I realized that I had outgrown a lot of them. Anyway, once I began to see the cracks in the friendships I used to surround myself with, I couldn't unsee all the ways they could be unkind, immature, and toxic to themselves and to one another. I held on to the few people that I knew had my back and came out of the internship with a handful of good, close friends rather than a big circle of people with shady tendencies. One good friend from the internship, Alice, 22F, had been close with Ellen about a year ago and has since told me a lot more of the things Ellen said behind my back, partially corroborating Kay's story from last year and adding details to some of the craziest parts. Apparently, to give herself more credibility, Ellen had been telling people that she'd been in touch with my roommate and friend of 11 years, Anna, 22F. Ellen said that Anna also didn't like George, that Anna told her I spent way too much time with him, was neglecting all my friends, that he basically lives at our apartment, and that I always do this when I get into a relationship. She also told people that Anna thinks George is faking his chronic illness, and that I'd been using it as an excuse to blow off my friends. Once when George was at our apartment and had a flare-up, I'd had to cancel plans to stay with him, afraid that he might need me to take him to the hospital. Ellen told everyone that Anna said he didn't seem sick and that I'd only canceled because I felt like staying home and hanging out with him. When Alice told me all of this, I immediately confronted Anna and told her everything. Although Anna and Ellen had been in touch on and off over the past few years, I'd previously introduced them to one another and they had some mutual interests that they'd occasionally text about. Anna assured me she'd said none of the things Ellen accused her of, and even combed back through all of the messages to see if there was anything she'd said that might have implied anything like that. In going through Anna's messages with Ellen, we noticed a pattern. It seemed that any time I told Ellen I wasn't available, she texted Anna to ask if I was with George. This went back to almost the beginning of my relationship with him. For those running to the comments to ask why Anna didn't tell me this sooner, it didn't strike Anna as bizarre until we looked through the messages after hearing the accusations. I have a bad habit of letting my phone die, so sometimes if someone really needs to get in touch with me, they'll contact Anna or George. So in itself, Ellen texting her to ask where I wasn't out of the ordinary. Ellen texting her to see if I was specifically with George, combined with what Ellen was claiming Anna told her, is the strange part. Coming out the other side of all of this, I've been trying really hard to reflect and learn from the situation. Was I a perfect friend to Ellen? Definitely not. I think there were certainly times at the beginning, when I was first dating George and studying for the MCAT, that I was distant with her. Maybe I should have tried harder to patch up our friendship in those early days by confronting her directly, or maybe I should have been more in tune to how she was feeling and addressed it sooner. Despite everything, I do miss her a lot and I wish things had turned out differently. But I don't think she was fair to me, either. If I had withdrawn a little bit into my relationship in its early stages, she should have given me some grace and confronted me directly when she had a problem rather than going behind my back. She absolutely should not have tried to drag my name through the mud, made things difficult at work, or worst of all, tried to destroy George's and Anna's reputations and relationships. I recently heard that Ellen is moving back to the city and tried to get a job at the company where we interned, but she was rejected by every department she applied to. Am I a bad person for feeling a little vindicated? Thanks everyone for your comments last year. I really needed that support, but now I'm just looking for any lessons to be learned. Could I have done anything differently? What can I take away from this to try and be a better friend in the future?